Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD's Nascar and Sports Podcast. This week, I'm going to have a short recap of Sonoma race there in California, and um, mainly focus this episode on my mid-season awards since we are going into the off weekend. I didn't want to have 2 weeks of not being existent. There won't be an episode next week, of course, since we're off this weekend for Father's Day. Um, And then after that, we will be going to Nashville for the race at Nashville Super Speedway. I'm taking my son, so I'm ultra excited for that one. And then we'll get back to regular schedule. But this week, I'm going to take a little bit to recap the uh, road course race at Sonoma. Before we start into the recap, I want to just take a minute and, as always, thank everyone for continually listening and subscribing. I ask if you will rate and review if you haven't already. Or give me a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify. That would help out a lot. And also T-shirts. I'm ready to get another order in on those. If anybody be interested, any size available. We got black is the color right now. They're really nice and they're $19.99 each. If you just want to get with me and get those in, I will get them to you as quick as possible. And I really appreciate that. That helps the podcast, helps me get recognition out. I know it was a really good idea for uh, to wear those out going to a race. I plan on doing it while I'm out in Nashville too. So just if you want to get a shirt, get with me, and I'll get you taken care of for sure. Start off with in this race recap, Daniel Suarez, who was the defending race winner last year at Sonoma, had a good starting position. Started in the top 10. I think he started ninth, and as soon as the race started, on the start there, he missed shifts. Luckily, he didn't blow his car up. Went from ninth to 29th to start off the race, so just the start of a very rough day for him. And that took me back to last year. I think it was at Dover. I'm just thinking out loud here. Denny Hamlin did the same thing, but his car actually blew up, and he wasn't able to finish the race. So at least Suarez was, and it didn't kill his day too bad. He still had a decent day, a whole lot better than the DNF. Other than that, the first stage pretty uneventful. Uh, it was a very short first stage. Denny Hamlin won the first stage from the pole, started on the pole, stayed up front the whole first stage there. Um, and then we see at the end of the first stage, going into the second, Martin Truex's car come in. And once he got by Denny, I personally thought, man, he's going to be hard to beat. Seems like every race he wins, he's dominant. And this was no different this weekend. As soon as he took the lead from Denny there in stage two, he was gone. And Denny kept pace with him there on the long run. He would cut into it, but he never could get back around him. And it ended up caution actually came out with about 5 to go in the second stage. This is the first caution of the day because, as we know, they took stage breaks away at road courses, which I'm a fan of, by the way. That I know some people are leaning one way or another, but in my opinion, I'm glad they took stage breaks away at road courses. I think they need to keep them in regular uh, ovals, mile and a halves, and short tracks, but road courses, I'm good with them taken away. I'm kind of split about super speedways. Super speedways when you got stage breaks, though, man, it's hard racing at the end of every stage, and that's exciting to see. So I would say I'd go ahead and say that keep stage breaks everywhere else, but road courses. I think it's great racing and more exciting for the fans. The caution in stage two ended up shaking the running order up, which then led Kyle Busch, who came out of nowhere. I think he was running mid-teens to 20s until this caution. Caught the caution just right, won stage two. So he pitted early there and worked out perfect for him. So Kyle Busch winner in stage two, just coming off that win at Gateway, and kept rolling. Ended up finishing second this week, I think, due to strategy. The strategy call to bring him down pit road, which kind of lucky at the same time, worked out for him. So I wanted on the opposite side of the spectrum here. Kyle Busch's great day. How about Ryan Blaney and Austin Cindric? Oh my gosh, they were dreadful all day long, which is very shocking. Blaney's been really good all year. Cindric's been off, but at road courses, Cindric's one of the top guys. He's pretty strong at road courses. He's a road racer. I know his only win in the Cup Series came at Daytona last year, but he's one of those guys you look at and you're like, okay, well, he can have a good run at a road course. There's no reason why he couldn't. And man, they were dreadful all day long. I mean, Blaney played the strategy game and ended up getting into the top 10 there at the end, but then he gets spun two times on the last couple laps and ends up finishing back where he should have belonged where he was all day long. And Cindric was bad too, right? That really shocked me. I don't know. I think it shocks me more about Cindric, to be honest. But Penske as a whole, just not very good all day long. I know Logano ended up finishing up there just because of strategy. His car wasn't that good, but once you get track position on road courses with these cars, it's hard to get passed back up unless you just totally make an awful mistake. And Logano never did that. So then Austin Dillon's dreadful year continues. He gets spun towards the end of this race, and as far as Austin Dillon, RCR there, Kyle Busch has carried that team this year to 3 wins and a second place finish at Sonoma, as I touched on a little earlier. But dreadful year for Austin Dillon. Maybe they can get it turned around this year eventually, but it wasn't happening at Sonoma. That was not good. And I wrote here in my notes, typical road course race so far. I know some people like the road courses, some people hate them. Races like this make me lean toward not liking them, but anything NASCAR does, I'm going to support race wise. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a terrible race, just really hard to pass on these road courses. Like I said, track position is king, and when you have that, you're pretty much in good shape. One thing I was glad to see, though, and I heard drivers talk about this too, tire wear and tire fall off on a road course. That was awesome to see. I think it'll result in more passing eventually. And there was some good racing all over the track, just not very many battles for the lead, I should say. But you would see guys racing, but really only 2 passing zones. Seemed like was turn 7 and turn 11 in Sonoma. In this car, this race especially, it just looked like those were the only 2 places you could really get by somebody unless your car was phenomenal. And the only guy that stood off to me that had a phenomenal car was Martin Truex Jr. And, well, Denny did until that track position battle there when the caution came out. He had to pit. He fell back to like 15th or something, worked his way back up to 9th, and just had a miscalculation. Spun. He's trying to pass Byron in a place he probably shouldn't have tried to pass. He said on his podcast he was riding behind him for about 15, 20 laps, so he's frustrated. Just trying to get by him. He knew he was faster than him and ducked it to the inside there right by the start-finish line, hit the wall. And when he did that, tried to save it, overcorrected it, and ended up breaking a toe link. So, bad luck day for Denny. At least he came out with a stage win. And, that run right there excites me for the upcoming road courses with Denny. Just because, ever since the next gen came out, he has been dreadful at road courses. I actually dreaded him on the schedule as a Denny fan just because, you expect him not to run as well there. And, man, he came out and got the pole to the shock of many. Got the pole there at Sonoma. I know he said he took Tyler Reddick's setup and beat him with it for qualifying there. So that was pretty good to see, pretty encouraging. And, Denny used to be pretty good at road courses, but he claimed that it was just because of the equipment. He said he's not a very good road racer, but we'll see on in. And speaking of Tyler Reddick, he he blew a tire and right by the pit road entrance there. And instead of limping all the way across the track, decides to cut through the track. He ends up getting penalized, but I think he still saved some time there. He ended up not getting a good finish. That was my pick to win, and just didn't have it really all weekend. He had qualifying speed, lap run speed, but he wasn't the Tyler Reddick we used to see on road courses. Maybe just because it was Sonoma. Guess we'll see at the Chicago Street course if he'll come back and run well. But if he wasn't for that tire, I think he still would have ran probably top 10, top 15, but not race winning. And as I touched on a little bit earlier, once Martin Truex got by Denny, he was dominated after he passed Denny for the lead. I mean, there was nobody that could really touch him all day. And Martin Truex is your winner at Sonoma for his second win of the year. And just want to say, I said last week it's time to take Kyle Busch serious as a title contender. Well, Martin Truex, he ran well at Nashville last year too. I was there last year as well. Toyotas were really strong in general. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex were, and then, it kind of made a screwed up pit call there at the end of the race last year in Nashville, or it probably would have been one of them two winning the race. But Martin ended up pitting. I think he either ended up pitting or staying out, and he needed to do the opposite in contention. But they dominated that race last year, so I think he'll be someone to watch in Nashville also. And I think that that team's on the right path. You got James Small, Cruise Chief. They have their run-ins, but 2 wins already this year. I mean, why not? Why could they not get more? I mean, seriously, we got several more road courses. He won at Dover. This team's on a roll, and it's just like Kyle Busch. When Martin Truex heats up, you need to watch out. Same thing. If Denny could ever get rolling here consistently, you got to watch out for Gabe Hart and those guys with Denny's team also. So all the veterans of the sport, pretty much, are going to be difficult to deal with if they get rolling. Question that I was asking myself watching Truex celebrate in victory lane: is he having fun? And my answer was yes, because he claimed that, if he was having fun still, there was no reason why he wouldn't return to JGR next year. And at this point, I'm of the belief that Truex comes back, to be honest with you. As long as he keeps doing what he's doing. And he's already got 2 wins this year. And I think Truex comes back, which at the beginning of the year, I would not have said that, to be honest with you. It looked like he was miserable. I was shocked when he announced he was coming back for this year. But I'm going to go ahead and say now my prediction: Martin Truex is back in the 19 at Joe Gibbs next year. I'm going to write that down. And I also want to touch real quick before we leave the Sonoma recap and say that Alex Bowman, I want to shed some light on him for a minute. After coming back from a broken vertebrae in his back, has locked his way back into the playoffs as of now. This man has had a 60-point playoff penalty, missed several races due to injury, and he is 3 points in. That just shows how that team is kicking tail when they are at the racetrack. I mean, they're consistent. They don't have race-winning speed every week, but my prediction of 2 wins for him, I think, is still going to come true. I know he's running out of time to get it, but I could at least see 1, maybe 2. I'm excited for Bowman and his playoff run. Now, he's one of the most consistent teams in the garage. I mean, you look at if he would have been here for the 4 or 5 races he missed, man, you're looking at probably top 10, maybe top 5 in points just with the runs they've had. I wanted to touch on him for a minute. And, now, I'm going to go over to my mid-season awards. My first award I'm going to be giving out, and I will say, as a caveat of this, if you all disagree with these or want to talk about them, message me or talk to me. We'll talk about the controversial awards that I've gave out here. If you all don't agree with any of them, I'd love to have conversations about it. And I answered a lot of questions actually about the pod during the week, and that's something that I've really enjoyed, interacting with fellow NASCAR fans on Facebook and Twitter. So keep on sending stuff in. And we're going to go ahead and get going here. Best race so far, and this is all mid-season. This could all change. But my best race is going to go to Kansas. Um, Classic battle between uh, two of my favorite drivers in the sport right now, Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Um, I could watch those guys race each other all day long. I know it was a little bit controversial, but if you look at the in car, we've talked about this. I don't think Denny did nothing wrong there, and I'll be the first one to say if he does. And just a good, clean battle. Denny wins, which makes it better. And you know, even before that battle, that race was insane. I mean, great racing. I mean, this car in Kansas go together like this car in Charlotte. I mean, those are both great races, and the Coke 600 was second. Uh, and this is, you had the Denny and Chase battle, that kind of stunk, but the race itself was great, and that was a close second. But I'm gonna go with the Advent Health 400 in Kansas is my best race to this point of the year. Best feud, we had a tie. I've got Denny versus Chase and Noah versus Ross, and that is Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott. First, at Charlotte, Chase makes a bonehead move, turns Denny into the fence after he claims Denny um, wrecked him first, ran him up into the fence, which he left him lane, took it. That's up for debate. We're past that, I guess, but Denny versus Chase, always a good battle. Makes the sport interesting. And then Noah Gragson and Ross Chastain after the Kansas race. You got Noah Gragson going after Ross. Ends up trying to land a punch, doesn't be successful, and then Ross gets one in on him, and the security steps in. I still wish they would have fought. Let them fight. That has not changed. That will not change, in my opinion. Let the guys go. Uh, and I think there'll be more feuds, especially in the playoffs. The intensity heats up, gets wild. You got short tracks. Expect the intensity to up as we get on into things here. Best paint scheme of the year. I'm going to go Bubba Wallace, Columbia at Talladega, and honorable mention was his car at North Wilkesboro. Seeing this car in person at Talladega this year, the Columbia car with the coral numbers and light blue, really nice paint scheme. There's been several good ones this year, but I think Bubba's team does a great job with paint schemes, and the sponsors. They do a great job, and I really enjoyed that car. Biggest upset. I think this one's obvious. It's really been the only upset win of the year. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wins the Daytona 500. And at the time was even a more bigger upset than what it is now because Ricky's running good. Another quiet run, solid run for him this week at Sonoma. He's sitting, I think, top 20 in points, and maybe even top 15 at this time. And that team's really improved. But that was the only upset win, so I'm going Ricky at the Daytona 500. Most disappointing, Eric Jones. He won at Darlington last year in the playoffs. That was his only win in this next-gen car. But, man, I expect him to contend for some wins this year, and he has been off. Legacy MC as a whole has been, but really, Noah coming into his rookie year, didn't really expect much from him. Legacy MCs last year at Chevrolet, transitioning to Toyota. I think Eric Jones has been really bad off. Hopefully, the change to Toyota will help him get back on track. And on the opposite side, most improved, Corey LaJoie. This guy has took Spire Motorsports from a top 30 team to now top 20 in points. He's running better than he should be every week. Even had a solid run at Sonoma. I know he's not a big fan of races at road courses because he don't think he's good at them, but solid run for him. I'm a fan of Corey LaJoie. The guy's super nice. I'm still on board that, you can't judge him by one race that he had at Gateway there. That was a bad situation he's thrown into at the last second. But great year for him at Spire, and he's focusing on that 17. And you got Atlanta and Talladega left. Go out and get a win, Corey. That'd be awesome for the Spire team, and it'd be awesome to see as a LaJoy fan. I think he'll just continue getting better and better, honestly, in that team, and they've put the time in, and it's showing off. Most impressive young gun, and that's Ty Gibbs for me. Uh, Continues to string together good, solid runs. I made the prediction last week. I think he will end up in the playoffs, whether that is a win or points his way in. I think he will get in this year, and to get in the playoffs as a rookie would be huge. And I think he will do that. I think he sits like 15 to 20 points back now. I'm not for sure that count, but he's right there. I think he gets in. Best moment of the year so far. I went Ryan Blaney breaks his 57 race winless streak and wins the Coke 600 and the celebration afterward. Going into the crowd, that whole moment in general was the best moment, in my opinion, of the year. You got to respect Blaney and that team. You know, he was really emotional in his post-race interview talking about how, you start to question yourself whether you're going to win or not. He knew he was good. He knew he's on a good team, but, that doubt crept into his mind. And it was impressive to see them overcome that and have a dominant car. They like he backed into a win. He went out there and earned it. They had the best car pretty much all race long, and pretty sick looking paint scheme too. That neon cherry lime body armor car looked good that night. He went on to win the Coke 600. Good for him. Good for that team. That's my best moment of the year so far. The Here to Stay award. This is one I made up, and it goes to two Hendrick drivers. They're going to co-share this award because they have been up front all year long, been consistently the cars to beat, in my opinion. And that's Willie B and Kyle Larson. I think they will advance all the way into the championship four. You heard my picks last week, but these guys are here to stay, in my opinion. They're not going anywhere. They have been the top two dogs all year long. I don't think that's changing. I think one of them wins the championship. I predicted last week William Byron would win it. I think it's a toss-up, to be honest with you. They are the guys. Larson's been a little bit checkers or wreckers this year, meaning he's either wrecking, finishing bad, or he's winning their whole thing. I think that'll improve as the year goes on, and those two guys are the guys I would say are here to stay. Mr. Consistent, Kevin Harvick, this year. Since last year, he's top 5 in the points, top 10. This guy just continues to rack up points no matter where we are. He's carrying Stuart Haas. He hasn't got any wins this year, but he's had solid runs consistently. And it would not surprise me. As good as he's running, he end up in victory lane in his last year? I think he could. I think it would be a place like Richmond, where he won last year, or Michigan, where he won last year. But he's carrying this team. I mean, they've been terrible. Everyone else has been terrible there all year, and he continues to be Kevin Harvick. So I'm with Mr. Consistent. Comeback of the year. I've got Alex Bowman. After breaking a vertebrae, and I touched on this talking about him, already locked back in the playoffs. I think he'll end up getting in the playoffs with a win. And that's my comeback of the year. You got to respect him. He's really done good for the Ally team. Adding in Blake Harris there for his crew chief, and they've really done a great job. So, comeback of the year, Alex Bowman. I mean, Ally 400 coming up. Could he be a contender there? Guess we'll see. Best decision, Martin Truex Jr. to come back for another year. He's proved it again this week at Sonoma that was the right decision. Adding 2 more wins to his win total. I don't think he's done yet, folks. I think he's going to keep winning. Whether that be this year or next year, I think he'll be back. So I can see him adding to that win total and keep going. And probably my biggest award, and that is Driver of the Year so far. And anytime you mention Driver of the Year, you got to mention this guy because he's honestly the best driver in the field, I think. And that's Kyle Larson. Like I said earlier, checkers or wreckers. When it's bad, but when he's not wrecking, he's winning the whole thing. And I think that'll improve. I think he'll continue to win more races. He's about the fastest car on the track every single weekend. He's going to be there. And even when they're not, Cliff Daniels makes adjustments to get him up there and keep his track position and make him good. And that's something that's going to come into huge benefit come the playoffs. That is my mid-season awards. Like I said, uh, get with me and let's debate these things. I know some of these answers probably won't be very popular, but I'm here to discuss it. Now, on to our little preview of Nashville. Um, we've been here with NASCAR 2 times. Uh, Kyle Larson dominated the first time we went back there, and last year I was in attendance, and it was dominated by mainly Martin Truex and Denny Hamlin. But then Chase Elliott came on at the end and won. That's my son's favorite driver. It was his first ever race attending, and his driver gets the win. Well, I've been to 18 or 19 races. I think this is going to be my 20th. And I have not seen my favorite driver win. This year, he hasn't even came in the top 10 when I've been in attendance. At Nashville is when it changes. I'm picking Denny Hamlin to win his second race of the year, win in Nashville, and make me happy as a kid in a candy store. Last time I predicted Denny win, he won at Kansas. I'm going back to it here in Nashville. He's been fast. He was fast at Charlotte before he got taken out by Chase Elliott, fast at Sonoma before he took out himself. I'm thinking Denny Hamlin wins at Nashville, and while we're there, team to beat, Toyotas in general. I'm going to throw Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick in that as well. You got JGR taking Joe Gibbs Racing and Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick to be your teams to beat. They're at 23-11. They dominated last year. I've got no reason why to think they didn't. Only caveat I would say would be Larson would be up there too. I don't see the Fords really doing much there. I could be totally wrong. It's just my thoughts. Denny Hamlin, JGR are my picks. And also, while we're thinking about it, Alex Bowman didn't run there very good at all last year. I think that changes this year. I'm going to go Alex Bowman, top 10. Throw that in a little caveat. Ally 400, I think he does give a sponsor. I think Alex Bowman will run top 10, have a solid run there in Nashville. And I expect a good race. It was a good race last year. The first year was kind of good, but Larson dominated the whole thing. I think we'll have storylines to talk about. And Nashville's a great market, an awesome place to watch a race. That was my first ever time going to Nashville Super Speedway last year, and I'm super excited to go back. They do great with the fan experience. If you haven't been there, I'd say definitely go check it out. Heck, even go this. I mean, there's some tickets still available. It's close to a sellout, but you still got a week to get in and go. It's a short drive from here in Kentucky where I am, and it would be well worth your time, especially if Denny Hamlin wins. I mean, come on, that would be an awesome experience. So just want to thank you all, and now we'll go to the question of the week. Now to one of my favorite parts of the pod every week, the fan question of the week. And this week I got sent in a pretty unique question. I really like this. This was getting into the mind of a race fan, and I hope y'all. My answer is going to be not shocking to anyone, but here we go. And it is, what is the favorite paint scheme you've ever seen in person? I've seen a lot of paint schemes over the years in person, and I would say, being at Charlotte with the Coke 600 and seeing all the American paint schemes was really awesome. But and then seeing Alex Bowman's Ally Chevy last year in Nashville just for that race, the purple and pink, honorable mention. And this was hard, but I think there's only one correct answer here, and it was last year in Atlanta. I witnessed this race in person. Denny Hamlin drove a Coke car for the first time in history. He's been a Coca-Cola driver his whole career. Finally, last year gets a chance to drive the Coca-Cola car in Atlanta, and that was awesome. the chrome numbers, the silver numbers on the side. I got to walk on pit lane there and see it, and it's still my favorite paint scheme to this day. They never came out with a die cast of it. Man, I wish I could get one of those if they ever do, and I will be getting one of those, I should say. That is my favorite paint scheme I saw in person. Another honorable mention I like to mention is the Cincinnati Institute red, white, and blue car with stars to Kyle Larson in 2021 Talladega. That was another one that was really awesome. And then anytime Larson drives the Valvoline car, which I witnessed him win in the Valvoline car in 2021 in Bristol. That's another one. But, you know, all of Denny's schemes are nice, but that Coca-Cola car really just stands out to me as one that I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. And I hope to see many more over the years. That's the fun part about going is looking at all the paint schemes. And every week I have to pull up the paint scheme preview on NASCAR.com for my boys to look at because they like looking at the cars. That's race fans. That's a big reason why they like going to is checking them out. So that's my answer. I won't. You all won't hear from me next week because we're off this Sunday. We're all going to enjoy Father's Day, and we'll get back to it next week. And I'll recap my trip to Nashville and the race. And, hopefully, all goes well until then. I want to say thank you so much for continuing to be on this ride with me as we try to grow this podcast. I want to just keep growing and growing, and maybe turn this into a career one day. I love that for sure, and be awesome for me to get into something that I love doing. I thank you all. Continue to like, subscribe, and share. Until next week, I'm out.